Friends, family, faculty, administration, and most of all, the Wharton MBA class of 2012. Thank you so much for being here to celebrate this incredible day. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. A friend of mine asked me this week what it is like to go to Wharton. And even after 2 years, it wasn't that easy of a question to answer. It's one of those things that you can't really describe. You just have to experience it to believe it. But of course, I'll try to explain. Now, it was hard at times to balance international travel and costume parties with those pesky academic and career obligations, and we were truly challenged to persevere and pull it off. But we did it. We successfully spent the last 20 months all up in each other's business. We learned probably too much about everyone's career aspirations, strengths, weaknesses, interests, fears, successes, and failures. We also learned that despite the few common reasons to come to Wharton, once we got here, we took very different paths to get to the seats that we sit in today. And the truth is, Wharton is truly different for all of us. As WGA president, I have had the privilege of being involved in many aspects of the student experience, and of course seeing where those precious student resources are actually spent. I know how much money we spend on happy hours, posh dinners, travel, and parties. But I also see how much more money we spend and time we take to educate each other about new career paths, prepare each other for interviews, help each other through exams, and connect each other to our own personal networks. Even though Wharton exceeded all of our ridiculous social expectations, let's not forget how hard we worked to secure that job. For example, the Consulting Club does nearly a month of organized interview prep. The Real Estate Club does weekly alumni and education panels. The Entrepreneurship Club supports student ventures with financial and human resources. And through it all, we learn a little bit more about ourselves and our goals as we cross a new path and a new person here at Wharton with each individual pursuit. But for as much as we've crossed each other's paths over these last 20 months, every student's Wharton experience is no doubt a unique one. But the one thing that will always connect all of us is that we are the Wharton MBA class of 2012, and we will be that forever. It felt like 20 months ago, someone dropped all of us off in Philly, hit the pause button, and gave us a chance to assess, evaluate, and redirect our careers, and to a larger extent, our lives. Very soon, we will all have to press play again. To paraphrase Stephen Colbert's Knox College commencement speech, he said, "Why would you leave this place? This seems like a very nice place. And in the real world, they play for keeps, my friends." Well, you know what, Stephen? Bring it on. We know we're ready to start again. And when we do, we must do so knowing that our accomplishments, our actions, and our decisions will always reflect Wharton. But more importantly, it will reflect the people in this room that we have come to know so well. Class of 2012, I wish you all good luck. And now I am pleased to introduce Dean Thomas S. Robertson. Tom is a longtime member of the marketing faculty here at Wharton. As dean, he provides a strategic vision for all of our educational, research, and outreach programs, advancing Wharton as a source of innovation and a force for good around the world. He is currently leading Wharton's $550 million fundraising campaign with an emphasis on student scholarships, hiring world-class faculty, and programs in such areas as global leadership, entrepreneurship, and social impact. Please join me in welcoming Dean Tom Robertson.
Hi. Thank you, Matt. That was really wonderful. And I'd like to start by welcoming our graduates, of course, families and friends. Our graduates received their MBAs today, a wonderful achievement, and a result of a good deal of hard work, but this is supposed to be a day for the mothers, not their kids, wasn't it? This is Mother's Day, right? So graduates, I actually have something to ask you to do. I think you should all get up, turn around, and clap and give a thanks not only to the mothers who are here with us, but all of the families and friends for the hard work that they've done to get you across the finish line. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. I'm sorry we're inside on such a beautiful day, but Siri said it was going to rain. Frankly, I think Siri could use an optimism upgrade. And actually, a little more optimism is a good idea for all of us. And that's what I'd like to talk about. Whether you're here as a graduate, family member, faculty, or friend, optimism is an undervalued commodity. Indeed, it is the fuel of human progress. The notion that optimism has great value is as old as mankind. And you're more optimistic than you know. Here's evidence. Remember the last time you got on an airplane and they told you to turn off your cell phone because it might interfere with the ability to fly the plane? You didn't really believe that, did you? And after all, nobody goes through the bags to see if you left Angry Birds on. Though I suppose if it's Words with Friends and you're Alec Baldwin, you might get kicked off the plane. Seriously, if they're putting our fate in the hands of anybody with a smartphone, we're all in real trouble. Another remarkable phenomenon is that a 747 can get off the ground at all. It weighs almost 1 million pounds. So, that alone tells me you have some optimism because you get on that plane. Optimism arises in surprising places, and it's often the pathway to surprising outcomes, very good outcomes. Consider our speaker today, Wharton MBA and Perelman School of Medicine alumnus, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who we'll introduce in a few minutes. Boy, I thought I was busy, and here's a man who redefines the word. When he's not on television or writing books or leading the Health Corps, which he and his wife created as a healthcare version of the Peace Corps, when he's not doing any of that, I suppose he gets some sleep, but then you learn that Dr. Oz is still a doctor, still practicing, still performing more than 100 heart surgeries a year. He's a living lesson in optimism. If Dr. Oz can get all that done, our own obligations don't seem so insurmountable after all. Optimism is not optional. By some measures, it's the only path to survival in a complex world. Here's an optimistic statement. The global economy is booming, but nobody seems to realize it. How's that for unconventional wisdom? But it's true, and let me give you some evidence. The great driver of modern economic progress is globalization. To succeed, it takes an open society and relatively free markets of the kind we've witnessed these past 20 years or so. In this time, China has moved toward more economic openness, so have Russia, India, Brazil, and countless others. We can see a clear parallel between engagement with the global marketplace and growing economic strength in developing countries. Are there gaps, shortcomings in the global economy? Of course. But when has that not been the case? The trend today is undeniably upward. Consumer confidence is up, with the highest confidence occurring in Asia and Latin America. Confidence is rising in the US also. The signs are out there, both big and small. Here's a small example. Many countries are reporting that more people are eating out. And back in the US, home sales were up last month. Housing prices are up for the first time since 2007. Manufacturing is up, corporate profits are up, and Ford's bonds have been removed from the junk pile. An optimistic observer sees beyond the obvious and sees beyond the moment. A Latin maxim tells us that to do two things at once is to do neither. Now that might be strictly true, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do more than one thing. Consider Maxine Gowan, Wharton grad 02, the author of more than 100 scientific publications. She earned her doctorate in cell biology from the University of Sheffield, and for several years she held an academic position at the University of Bath. For most people, that would have been enough. But Maxine wanted more, so she went back to school, joining our MBA program for executives, and now she's the founding president and CEO of Trevena, a Pennsylvania firm that was created to translate groundbreaking research into a new generation of medicine for heart failure, depression, and acute and chronic pain. You really can do two things at once or more, and all you need is your education and optimism. Another graduate, Garrett Hill, Wharton MBA class of 1987, has rarely met a problem he can't fix. He was a Marine. He turned around a $5 million digital printing company and sold it for $1.1 billion. So when his 10-year-old daughter was diagnosed with kidney failure, he volunteered his kidney. When compatibility tests came back negative, he set out to recruit a viable match. 7 other relatives volunteered and all were rejected. So many times he heard the word no until finally a nephew passed the test. Daughter and nephew are doing well, but the experience left Garrett shaken. There had to be a better way, and there was. In 2007, he invested $300,000 of his own money to start the National Kidney Register, a nonprofit which is dedicated to increasing the quality, quantity, and speed of living donor transplants around the world. Certainly his optimism has paid off. Last year, he successfully orchestrated the longest chain of kidney transplants ever conducted, with 30 living donors supplying kidneys for 30 patients they'd never even met, a difficult and remarkable world record. Over and over, the pessimists get it wrong, and the optimists, like Maxine and Garrett, get it right. After all, a pessimist cashing out of the stock market in late 2008 would have done exactly the wrong thing. So, what's the wisest way to act on optimism? I say it's in great leaps. Sometimes we make these great leaps and we fail, but that's okay if we get up and try again. Make the great leaps. Nobody ever got across a canyon in 2 small steps. The most influential and exciting changes are usually things nobody had considered even a few years before. Think about Dr. Oz's world of medicine. Today, the great weapons in the fight against disease are physical and chemical. We use surgery to cut out disease, and we use medications to bring about healing reactions at the cellular and molecular level. But the optimists are looking further, toward other disciplines, seemingly far removed from medicine. For instance, we now know that proteins respond not only to chemicals, but to light. Work in that area might soon allow us to repair the brain without surgery. We're learning to transform adipose, fat tissue, into other kinds of tissue that the body needs more. That means body parts once damaged beyond repair might soon be replaced, not with mechanical devices, but with copies of your own human tissue. Not long ago, all of this was inconceivable. Yet in the coming years, it may very well be as common as MRIs and X-rays. Such breakthroughs come from people with optimism and confidence to get where others cannot imagine. Technology is just optimism brought to life. Here's another way you're optimistic. You entered this program because you're an optimist. You refused to accept your life as it was. And now you're at the start of something very big. Let me revise that. You're not starting something big, you're continuing something big, because hopefully you'll make Wharton a part of your lifelong learning. You'll be involved with us for peer-to-peer mentoring, access to new ideas, and the best new thinking. From now on, you come to share and to receive, to put knowledge into action for yourself and for the world. We're not done with each other, and that makes me very happy. In that same vein, I'm looking forward to seeing how you carry out the mission of the Wharton School, the social impact you will make, the innovation you will bring to life, and the ways you will use globalization to create opportunity and value, because you will. I'm optimistic. You came to Wharton for the extraordinary opportunity that this great place provides, and now another extraordinary opportunity awaits you. You have a lot in front of you if you're just willing to take that leap. It's an amazing world and an amazing time. Let the pessimists have their worries. Go build the world you want. And Siri agrees. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Mehmet Oz. In 1986, Dr. Oz started right where you sit today, earning an MBA from Wharton and an MD from Penn's Perelman School of Medicine. And since then, the sky has been the limit. He is, as I mentioned, a practicing heart surgeon, currently vice chair and professor of surgery at Columbia University. He was instrumental in the founding of the Complementary Care Center at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. In 2007, he and his wife Lisa founded Health Corps, which encourages college graduates to spend 2 years in high school educating students about wellness. Of course, he's built a rather impressive brand as a national television star and best-selling author. He launched his first TV series, Second Opinion with Dr. Oz, on the Discovery Health Channel in 2003. He then appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show for 5 seasons before launching his current series, The Dr. Oz Show, in 2009. For this highly rated program, he won the 2010 and 2011 Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Talk Show Host. As if this weren't enough, he's also the co-author of the You series of books on good health practices, which have sold more than 9 million copies. 7 of his books have been on the New York Times bestseller list. Dr. Oz has been named a World Economic Forum Global Leader of Tomorrow and one of Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People, among numerous other international honors. With his many contributions to healthcare, Dr. Mehmet Oz has built a remarkable career dedicated to enhancing health, wellness, and understanding for all. As a surgeon, as an educator, and as a philanthropist, he's without peer, and I hope that you will join me in welcoming him to the podium today. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Dean Robertson reminded me before I came up here that blessed are the brief, for they shall be reinvited. So I will keep this succinct. I have been taking pictures of you in order to identify any folks who are sleeping. I'll put they're going to be on my Facebook page later today. You can tag yourselves and your sleeping friends. So let me summarize some thoughts that I had sitting exactly where you are 26 years ago. The main question I had in my mind, and I suspect for some of you, likewise, it'll be a thought that's sort of permeating through your consciousness, is am I headed for success and happiness? And what's going to get me there? This is a question that some of you are asking yourselves, because if you're not thinking about it now, you will be thinking about it very soon. So let me just highlight the reality that knowledge for knowledge's sake does not get you there. When I was studying medicine across the street, in my first year, in my first week, a very influential professor there addressed a class, and he said that half of what we would be taught during our medical school years would, by the end of our careers, be proven to be false. A daunting task. The problem, of course, is we didn't know which half, which would have saved us a lot of effort. But you will, as you go through your careers in a similar fashion, face dilemmas where you have been taught ideals, concepts, insights that were correct today in 2012, but are proven to be incorrect, and you have to be able to adjust. So let me give you my definition of success and my definition of happiness, and then walk you through, David Letterman style, the top 10, popping a little bit, the top 10 things that I think might make a difference for you. What is success? Success is moving oneself towards a better understanding of what's important in life. Very succinctly stated, I'll say it again. It's moving oneself towards an understanding of what's important in life. Happiness is being grateful for what happens along the way. If you remember those 2 primary concepts, you may want to manipulate the definitions to your own liking, but those 2 fundamental concepts will come back over and over again throughout your career. So what are the mental and physical challenges that are going to occur along the way? What are those epiphanies? How are they going to influence you? And how does one get to be successful and happy? Step number 10 is every day you'll feel productive and challenged in a way tailor-made to your unique desires and strengths. Surgery, which is the love of my life, is a Zen experience, a unique opportunity. Hosting a TV show is a very different kind of experience. They have similarities, but they're much more different than they are the same. But they are customized to my personality. They both offer immediate gratification. You know very quickly whether you made it or did not. And you're allowed to enter into that flow state. I like that. I had to have that. In fairness, I'm really happy they created heart surgery, because I don't know what else I would have done. Many of you will likewise be offered multiple opportunities. Of those many opportunities, one of them is going to be really perfectly suited to your personality. You don't want the best job, you want the right job for you. Allow that flow state where you don't feel bothered, where you can lose touch of time and location to dominate the reason you pick your career path, and your creative energies will be released. Tip number 9, generate an expertise in an area other than the profession in which you earn your living. I started off in heart surgery for the reasons I mentioned. I went into the media space because it offered me insights very different from those in heart surgery. It allowed me to connect with people in a very different way. It allowed me to realize that people did not change what they did based on what they learned. They changed what they did based on how they felt. An insight which made me a better doctor, but it came from outside medicine. When you're able to offer new insights that are generated from a field way outside your normative one, it'll make you more valuable in your day job, but it'll also allow you to stretch and bend that mind of yours, which is so essential for allowing us to live our fullest life. So identify tools that offer you different paradigms for solving problems, and you'll be much better off for it. Tip number 8, develop a system for living your life, meeting its challenges, and developing opportunities. I began to ride my bike to work when I moved to New York City to practice at New York Presbyterian Columbia University. It wasn't orthodox because I live in New Jersey. So I had to ride my bike across the George Washington Bridge every day at 5:30. And by the time I got to rounds at 6:15, I was ready to see the patients. It developed a system in my life. A system which may not be the right one for you, but for me it resonated. It allowed me to control my destiny in the areas that I could truly control it in. It is ultimately the reason that I do the show, because I know that if people can control their bodies, they can control the world outside of them. It is my plea to you that you take this tip seriously. Whether it's a 7-minute workout, which I do every morning, and I purposely try to take my tips and spread them out, you'll develop even better ones for you, share them with your friends, but develop a system for living your life where you don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. It might start off by just picking out what foods you eat, but it's going to evolve into how you take your meetings and what kinds of events you attend. All those become important, because if you're able to live your life wisely, you'll be able to avoid having to reinvent in decisions that otherwise would have slowed you down. Now, I'm not saying you have to live without awareness, which is an important key out. This year, I created a speed bump for my entire team at the show. We have about 200 people who work on the program based out of 30 Rockefeller Center, and we work hard. But I realized we all needed speed bumps. And for us, the speed bump was giving them all transcendental meditation. You can pick your own speed bumps, but when you find those and you put that into that system you're creating for your life, you'll be better off for it. And remember, responsibility means just that, the ability to respond. So oftentimes you will enter into a rapidly moving series of rapids that challenge your ability to make decisions. And I often liken it to that man who jumped off the top of the Empire State Building. And when he was passing the 25th floor, they asked him how it was going, and he said, so far, so good. And we're often in that environment where it seems really cool, we're moving in the right direction, but it's actually taking us directly away from where our true energy will lie, the chi, that will take our creative energies, allow us to connect those disparate dots and move in a different direction. Tip number 7, you gotta find a mentor. You probably know some right now. The question is, have you taken advantage of them? You gotta evaluate their strengths and their weaknesses, and then copy their positive attributes. Remember, a great mentor's major job is to make you comfortable being uncomfortable. Why would I say that? Because if you're comfortable being uncomfortable, you'll push yourself, you'll strain yourself. Remember, the comfort zone, which many people think is a place that keeps them safe, not at all. What a comfort zone does is it actually keeps you in a little box. It makes your life small. So get out of your comfort zone and find mentors who will give you the skill set to do just that. Tip number 6, whatever you choose, do it fully with a passion, like a child would do things. When you go through the motions, you're likely to fail anyway, so why bother? My father came to this country in the mid-50s, did not speak much English. When he went to the airport to get on the plane, his mother, who dressed in a burqa, my family's from Turkey, accompanied him. She'd never seen a plane before. She was startled by its largeness. Much as that 1 million pound plane Dean Robertson spoke to earlier, she was shocked by what she was able to see when she first time walked onto that tarmac. And so she asked and insisted that the pilot meet with her, which is quite unorthodox. So the pilot came off the plane, walked down the stairs, back then they had only stairs, and came down on the tarmac to meet with this woman dressed in a burqa, who clearly did not know much about planes. And she said, listen, you have my son on your plane. I packed the lunch for him. She handed him a little brown bag, had the food in there. She said, I want you to take this big bird, and I want you to fly it really, really slowly and stay low to the ground. Oftentimes, we live life like that, not realizing that it's actually much more dangerous for us. So my urge to you, because you can do it now, is start making mistakes, because good judgment will come from those errors. And when you do those mistakes early in life, there's plenty of resiliency. Like the bouncing balls that we all try to keep in the air. When they hit the ground when you're young, they'll bounce back up into your grips. Tip number 5, no one, and please remember this one, no one is a jerk on purpose. Even some of your friends who have taken humility to a new level of lowness will evolve over the next few years. And those who don't, you'll have to learn to forgive. But by remembering that no one is a jerk on purpose, you'll be able to get through many of the trials and tribulations. People have very complex motivations. The world is quite challenging for some more than others. Many of them have deep-seated difficulties. It's difficult to understand why they're acting the way they act. Success, I think, is gained by bringing people back to the fold. Folks who otherwise would have been deserted can be whole, diamonds in the rough found by you. That's part of your obligation. You know, that is the professionalism that you bring as a graduate of the Wharton Business School. So my advice is to let people surprise you, because if you do, they almost always will. Tip number 4, recognize relationships are needed, but they're needed also because they have to keep growing. You have to continually reinvent those relationships. My guess, personal experience, but there's some data behind it, is every 7 years, the big relationships in your life have to be completely recrafted. This applies not just to your work relationships and your relationships with the graduating class you're sitting next to right now, but also with the most important relationships in your life, those of your family, closest friends. I've been married to my wife, Lisa, who I met when I was here, 27 years. And I've really been married to 4 different women. They have the same social security number, same name and address, but she is 4 different women. Because I married the woman that I wanted to marry, and she changed. And she married the man that she thought I could become, and I didn't change. So you're like 2 boats moving away from each other. And your challenge is to find the coolness of that relationship and find what's beautiful and elegant and as it changes, and to live in the moment with them. And if you do that effectively, you'll be able to reinvent yourself at the same time. Tip number 3, never forget the body is a temple of the soul. Now this is not a thinly veiled disguise by me as a physician to admonish cigarette smoking and alcohol abuse and the like. Yes, those count. But I'm talking much more about the subtle transgressions, those of junk food, lack of exercise, sedentary lifestyles that so many of you are going to be trapped into living. In order for you to really do the net present value of what your life's worth might be, measured not just at income, but also contributions to society, you want to be able to live your long life with full vigor. You will not be able to do that if you don't make smart decisions along the way with regard to the temple of your soul. Tip number 2 is to live in the present. You've heard too often already that the reason we talk about the yesterday being history and the tomorrow being a mystery is because we have to emphasize that today is a gift. It is a gift. It's called the present for that reason. But living in the moment is much more challenging when you're faced with 5 important decisions to make, all of which seem really important because they're in that quadrant of decision making that is urgent but unimportant. And so you make them because they're the easier ones to make. The hard decisions are the ones that take you time, that take you out of that comfort zone that I spoke to earlier. And when you do that, you'll learn that the most dangerous 2 words in the English language are if only. Because if only ends up being a cop-out, if only becomes this world of continually serpentine decisions that you never seem to be able to make for your own in the right way. So cut those words out, recognize that those errors which we've talked of earlier are valuable to you, and forgive yourself from them. And let me leave you, the graduating class of 2012, with my number 1 tip. The most important tip that I've learned through all my career working with many wise people like you. It is to make the driving force in your life love. Even more than wisdom, love is important. Remember, people, humans, don't die of the darkness. They die of the cold. Those around you right now that know you, that love you, have a governing influence on you. And remember, it's the perception of love that's most important. When you look at kids, it doesn't matter how much they were loved. It matters how much they thought they were loved. It's the same for the people around you. You have to learn to apply love to some very cold-hearted business decisions. And when you use data to make decisions, it makes decisions easier. It makes them sometimes short-sighted as well. It's those difficult decisions that involve an emotional connection that allow you to surpass what the numbers alone would have predicted, that will allow this class to contribute in a unique way to the future of this planet. You have been blessed with transparent love. By the fact that you're here, you know that people in the world care about you. Your job, as is all of ours, is to pass it along. The analogy is often made, I think appropriately, that individuals are like little raindrops falling delicately into the ocean of humanity. I pledge to you that if you do this right, you will be rewarded amply. You should take yourselves with great pride into the world. Never take yourselves too seriously, but always be proud of who you are. Congratulations and good luck.